Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff is facing fresh backlash for a comment that he made that really got under MAGA skin this week. You'll remember Ossoff said that President Trump would rather travel with his close personal aide, Natalie Harp, than execute his job as commander-in-chief. But some on the left cheer, and others think it was a step too far. For example, Barack Obama's former advisor and our colleague here, David Axelrod, who said those two words, with Natalie, seemed gratuitous and unnecessary. He added that they distracted and detracted from the power of the message. Keith, is Axelrod onto something?
Of course not. I don't agree with him. I mean, yes, you could say that the words were gratuitous and unnecessary. I'll agree with him on that. But did it distract? No, because we are talking now about Jon Ossoff's race, and it allows us to talk about the fact that Jon Ossoff was making the larger point that Donald Trump, as we mentioned before, is not focused on any of the issues that the American people are concerned about. He's focused on everything else, including his personal comfort on Air Force One or whatever the Air Force One happens to be on, rather than focusing on jobs and affordability and health care and things that the American people
and
want.
Look, and if you're going to argue that it's sexist, right, which is the big argument, right, if you're going to take that position, you better also be criticizing the way Donald Trump talks about women's appearances and looks on a regular basis, right? So I'm happy for someone to say, look, I think it was inappropriate, I think it was sexist, but you better also be saying that about Donald Trump if I'm even going to take you seriously.
Scott?
I expect Ossoff to criticize Donald Trump. I expect every Democrat running for president to criticize Donald Trump. What I thought was appalling about this is that Harp is not a public figure. She's not a household name. Nobody knows who she is. And when he injected her into this, he knew what he was doing, which is punching down on someone who's effectively defenseless.
Doesn't Donald Trump do that all the time?
All the time.
I mean,
What do you mean? He's doing it right now while we're here.
Guys,
Guys, there's no stop. There are no rules anymore. Donald Trump broke all of those.
Are you defending
Rob
Is this
Reiner
really
dies.
about
Rob Reiner
punching
dies.
down?
Donald Trump cheers his death. There are no rules
Robert
anymore.
Mueller dies. He defends his death.
Hold on. There are no rules anymore. You might not like it. Donald Trump is the king of trolls. What I find amazing is that the best trolls can't take incoming. I don't care who they are.
Is she a troll?
But they can't. No, but Trump is. Okay,
I know, but he didn't insult Trump. He insulted a female who can't defend herself.
She's a White House staff member.
She's not a troll.
She's a White House staff
member. The right
member.
cannot take any incoming.
Here's the deal. It's not the right and it's not Trump. It's a single defenseless woman.
She's not
defenseless.
She's not defenseless.
What about Richard Freeman and Shane Moss?
Caitlin Collins asks a real question, and Trump demeans her every single solitary day.
Let me go ahead and just play it, because there's just such a long history of this. Trump punching down, insulting women. Let's just play it.
Scott, never complaining about it.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
But what we want to do is to replenish the Social Security Trust Fund.
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
You know what?
If there's nothing incriminating in the file, sir,
Unbelievable.
Quiet, Piggy. I mean, Scott.
Excuse me, sorry.
Dan's question was pretty straightforward. If you're going to be outraged over traveling on a plane with Natalie, are you going to be outraged over all those things?
I do not believe in demeaning women in any way, number one. Number two.
Not answering the question.
Did the president demean women, and was that unacceptable?
The issue I have with this is...
Are you outraged or not about that?
The issue I have with this is...
Not answering the question.
Natalie Harp
Not answering the question.
is not a public figure.
Nor is Ruby Freeman or Shane Moss.
She has no ability
to be honest.
You are not answering the question. You are avoiding the question again, Scott. You continuously distract and avoid that.
By the way, at home, you have no idea how loud this is.
But Scott, listen.
You have no idea how dishonest you are.
It has nothing to do with Natalie. She is being a defenseless.
And if you want to defend her to the mic, go ahead, but I'm not going to do it.
Just to be clear, hold on a second.
What do you think, Lydia?
Hold on a second.
You're a Republican or conservative woman?
Just to be clear.
What do you think? You were asked a question.
Hold on a second,
Keith.
Just to be clear, I think the idea of continually describing a 35-year-old woman as somebody who has no agency and is defenseless and is just a victim, that is
She's a
kind of
victim of John
demeaning to
Ossoff's
begin
character
with.
assassination,
But the second,
100%.
but the second
Top
thing
Trump
is,
White House official.
but the second thing is, Scott, you are so concerned about that, but you have not expressed any concern over Trump's repeated demeaning of all kinds of other women who are just simply doing their jobs.
Including
I'm
our
just-
host.
I'm just-
Including our host. He
Why not?
attacked our host here.
I'm disappointed you don't remember this, but during the president's first term, you actually got into it with him on the South Lawn, and we did a show together, and I said, I don't think that's good.
Okay,
He
you
shouldn't
got
talk
one
to you that
example
way.
because you happen
and you
to
don't
be
remember.
with
but
the
the bottom
right
line
guy.
is,
But that's-
the
but
fact
Scott-
that you
What
won't
about the-
defend Harp here
But hold
is
on.
What
crazy
about
to
all
me.
these
Hold on
different
a second.
examples? You are so good at
That's
turning
why
the
I
subject
asked you
away
this,
from the
Scott,
reality
because
of what she just
you
said,
easily
Scott.
It's
could
now
have-
even more decibels than
you
it was.
easily
you're
could have
playing.
said-
more
I
decibels.
know you're playing to
Hold
your
on,
audience
Keith,
here, but Scott, you're
Keith,
still
just a
on the
second.
subject.
Personal space?
Hold on,
Yeah,
Scott.
it's-
You
it's a
easily could
wonderful
have said.
comedy, Scott,
You
but
easily
you're
could have
avoiding the
said
subject.
in this very same way that I denounce what John Ossoff said. I also denounce all the things that Donald Trump has said. You didn't say that
I
tonight,
literally
even when
just
you
said,
were
I don't
asked.
believe in demeaning
so
women. I
I
literally
will
just
say,
said, I don't
I
believe
will
in
just
demeaning
condemn each
say
of those
that you
incidents.
are not holding him to the same
Thank you.
standard that you
Thank
hold
you.
John Ossoff. You have a lot to say about John Ossoff and very little to say about
Yeah,
Donald Trump
because he
and
drug
his
a defenseless
treatment of women.
What about
government servant through the mud, and he
Ruby
deserves
Freeman?
it. He
Ruby
deserves
Freeman,
it.
The
Ruby
president
Freeman
of the
and Shane
United
Moss,
States does that on a regular
Ruby Freeman and
basis
Shane Moss
to
were
women.
defenseless
So she deserves it?
government workers, and Donald Trump attacked them. What did you
listen,
say about that,
does she
Scott?
deserve it?
What did you
Nope.
say about that, Scott?
Okay, nobody is saying that. First of all, that she deserves anything.
You seem to be defending
But
it.
the only
No, Scott,
point,
you're
the only
deflecting
thing that we
again.
are saying is that if you're going to be mad at John Ossoff
Be
over saying he
consistent.
likes to the president likes to travel with her, you should be mad about the president calling a reporter doing her job piggy.
Be consistent, Scott.
That's a pretty simple thing.
consistent.
Guys,
Not controversial.
be consistent,
It's pretty simple.
Scott.
We gotta.
It's what it takes to be a
Be consistent.
Democrat. Drag defenseless
No,
women
Scott,
through
you're
the
not
mud.
the victim here, Scott.
Drag defenseless women through the
You
mud.
are not the victim here. You are the perpetrator of Donald Trump's fraud on the American people. So
All
don't
right.
try to pretend like
I don't
you're
know.
not.
I don't know
I'm a
why
perpetrator of
we
fraud.
Yes, you are,
have
because
to
you sit
insist
here
on.
and defend him every time
I don't
you
know
come
why
here.
we have to insist on describing Natalie again, a 35-year-old woman. She's a government employee. As a defenseless
She has no microphone.
woman.
Nor did
She doesn't get to
nor
speak
did
at her
Ruby
house.
Freeman or Shane Moss.
She, like everybody else, who
By the
is
way, doesn't she run his
is doing
Twitter?
their job,
She has-
doesn't deserve
That's
to
a
be
pretty big
attacked.
microphone.
If I got a list, Jared, of every female who worked in your office and read their first names and said, gee whiz, Jared, why are you spending so much time with that lady? You'd be pissed right now.
Scott, let
You'd
me
be
hold on.
pissed.
Hold on. So
You'd be
hold on.
pissed.
Do
You'd
I
be pissed.
hold on? Do I think what happened with the Natalie thing is that how we should talk? No, I don't think that's how politics should be. But what you should understand is we talk like that now because of Trump.
Donald Trump. Thank you. Case closed. End of story.
Do you disagree with that?
Look,
No,
I
and the American people know it.
believe you shouldn't demean women, and I don't think defenseless
Unless
women
Donald
in
Trump
politics
does
should be
it.
drugged through the mud.
Unless
That's
Donald
what I
Trump
believe.
does
Okay.
it. Be consistent, Scott Jennings. The American people see your inconsistency.
All right. Listen, I mean, President Trump, I think.
Not
has
a negative word
not-
for Ossoff. What do you think?
Why are you trying to change the subject?
listen, I'm curious.
Why would you not criticize Donald Trump?
Honestly, Scott, I think that if your position is that he was making an innuendo, I don't think it's good to make innuendo. But I also think it is worse to actually use insults to call women stupid, to call them piggy, to say that they are fat, whatever it is. Those things, actual, straight up, direct insults at professional women doing their jobs, I think most people think that's actually worse.
I think it's, look, I said I don't believe in demeaning women. I don't know what your problem is. Didn't you work for Bill Clinton? I mean, my God, we know how Democrats treat women in the workplace.
And do I defend Bill Clinton?
Honestly.
I have not defended him. You
Unbelievable.
sit up. Scott Jennings is the master of
Unbelievable.
deflection of the American people. He changed the subject here from Donald Trump to Bill Clinton because he doesn't want to talk about Donald Trump. He doesn't want to. It
was pretty bad,
He
Keith.
doesn't want to criticize his boss, Donald Trump.
It's how Democrats think of women in politics.
He's
Clinton,
so good
Ossoff,
at
that's how
changing
they,
the
that's how they
subject,
view women in
but
politics.
he will not
I
criticize.
will say-
he
I
will
will
not
say,
criticize his,
they're only there for one
his
reason.
good friend Donald Trump.
John Ossoff has really done a great job of getting a lot of attention this week
Thank you.
and stirring things up at the White House, and that's
Is that the
one of
standard?
the. Well, look, I mean,
Axe is right, by the
Donald
way.
Trump's
Axe is
world,
right.
in Donald Trump's world, it kind of is a little bit of a
Axe is right.
standard
Well,
that
then
he
he's
created
right
for
about
himself.
Donald Trump then too.
All right.
Axe is right.